Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. And today we are going to be discussing the CSA T20 Challenge knockouts of the tournament. It's going to be a little preview ahead of the tournament. We're going to take a look at some of the top performers or top players leading up to the semifinals, where we're going to be having some excellent competition and clashes to to witness them. There's going to be some excellent performances. We're hoping it's going to be some very close matches as well. I'm always up for a competitive game of cricket, and not just you know a type of games where it's one-sided. You want to try and get a competitive game, and see a competitive game of cricket rather than just a walkover, which there have been quite a few of them over this tournament. There's been some very average games, you could say, where certain teams just walked away with the match, and there's been some games where certain teams have where it has been really close. Overall, in the CSA T20 Challenge, you can say that it's been relatively competitive. There's been some really close games, but there's also, like I said, but there's also been some games where it was pretty easy for certain players and certain teams. But this is going to be a preview. There's obviously two semifinals that we're going to be watching, and not necessarily all the teams in this particular semifinal are currently 100% in form. Now, there has been a team that was on top of the log throughout the season, but hasn't managed to win their last few matches. There's been quite an inconsistency as they go into the semifinal. And what ended up happening, of course, as a result, is that they went from dominating and being on top of the log for majority of the tournament to losing out on a home semifinal spot. So on today's show, we're going to be previewing this. I'll also be playing you guys the press conference ahead of the first game, which is obviously Titans versus Lions. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's show. But before we get going, before we get started, I'll just like you guys to please subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Very important that you guys do so, so that we can reach our targets of getting to 5,000 subscribers, which is our next point. The more subscribers we get, the more we can do on this channel. So please support us and share this with all South African cricket fans that you guys know. There's also a business corner tab on our website if you want to learn, if you have a cricket business or cricket related business and you're looking to market your business and products effectively and affordably. We have an amazing strategy that we have created and for cricket related businesses specifically. So go to the tab on our website, it's the business corner, and join up, and you guys will be able to you'll get information, great information that's going to set you on that path, but also an opportunity to contact us and have a discussion on how you can utilize our platform to help your business grow effectively as well as affordably. You're not going to get prices like you'll get with us anywhere else in the country. So, and that is focused solely on the in the cricket community where you are hoping to get your business from, or your clients from, or where you are hoping to get your sales from. So go ahead and check that out as well. Very important that you do so. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to discussing this with you guys. Very good evening. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your cricket show. I'm your host, Khalid Moeddin, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points that has happened in South African cricket. And the major talking point that is taking place right now, the thing that is very relevant right now in the space is the CSA T20 challenge. Now we know that the CSA T20 Challenge has come to it's coming to its end. We have the semi-finalists that have emerged from the tournament. It was an amazing comeback throughout the tournament from the Lions. They had some inconsistencies in the tournament. There's been some massive matches. They started off with a bang in the tournament, obviously, when they won their first match against the Boland, about 44 runs. It was quite a convincing victory. And then continued their winning streak by beating Northwest by 9 wickets. But then they suffered a slight blip in Durban against the Dolphins when they lost by 4 wickets, and came back with a close victory in their following match against the Titans to win by 1 run. Then a match against Western Province was tied as they were trying to find their feet again, and then they had a shock loss against the KwaZulu-Natal Inland team, who were getting dominated throughout the tournament up until that point. But after that, they recovered. They tried to recover, and they failed to do so against the Warriors, who were phenomenal throughout this tournament, unbeaten in the tournament up to that point. They lost by 2 runs, very close match. But then they got their mojo back after beating Boland in Paarl by 9 wickets. And then again, Western Province by Newlands, a massive victory by 132 runs. And since then, the Lions kept on winning. They beat the Dolphins in Johannesburg, and then they went on to beat Northwest by 10 wickets in Johannesburg again at home. So it did help that they were playing at home in majority of this match. But then the massive victory against the Warriors was by 43 runs, getting their revenge in Gqeberha. And then they lost to the Titans in a close encounter by 2 wickets. And then they beat KwaZulu-Natal Inland by 7 wickets. And that is what put them into the final. So mixed matches from the Lions, up and down. It was throughout the tournament for them. But they've managed to make it into managed to secure a home final with 44 points, only losing 4 matches and winning 10, and topping the table to secure a home final for themselves. The Titans this season, they've also had an up and down season, although they had a great start beating Northwest, then beating Boland, beating Northwest by 13 runs, and then beating Boland by 4 wickets. And then they went on to lose to the Warriors by 2 runs, a very close encounter, and then losing again to the Lions by 1 run. So 2 very close matches over there for them that they lost. And then they lost to the Dolphins. So they went on a little bit of a losing streak, and it was looking like they were going to struggle in this tournament with that run of fixtures, because the following match they tied DL method against Western Province in Johannesburg. But then they got another opportunity to play, but no result against Northwest. So they went throughout a long patch without any victory to their name. But then a victory against the Warriors turned things around for them. They won by 12 runs there. And then they lost to KZN in Inland again. So it was looking like they were going on a difficult run of fixtures. They weren't looking like they were going to make the playoffs at some stage within this tournament. And then they went and beat the Boland by 6 wickets, and then they beat KwaZulu-Natal by 8 wickets, and then they continued with a victory against the Lions by 2 wickets, and then beating Western Province by 6 wickets. So they went on a winning streak right until the end of the tournament that really saved their campaign. It got them into a position to pip Western Province for that fourth place slot. And they ended up with 36 points after 5 losses with 7 victories. The Dolphins, They went kind of under the radar throughout this tournament. Even though they had a poor start against Western Province, even though it was a close match, to lose by 2 runs, the Dolphins then lost to the Warriors, and then they turned it around to beat the Lions. Then they beat Poland. They went on a little bit of a winning streak over here. They had a little bit of a no result in between, and then they beat the Titans. So they went on a nice winning run to turn their season around. Then they lost to Poland, surprisingly lost to Poland by 4 wickets. But it was a instant bounce back when they got to play England, when they won by 19 runs. And then they lost to the Lions, but then they beat Northwest and they beat the Titans in matches, consecutive matches, and then Western Province by 8 wickets. And then they beat KwaZulu Natal by 8 wickets and made it and then secured their semi-final spot. For the Warriors, however, it was 9 matches unbeaten. They went on an incredible run of wins. They beat KwaZulu Natal Inland by 37 runs. Then they beat the Dolphins by 7 wickets. Then they went on to beat the Titans by 2 runs. Then they beat Boland by 32 runs. Then they beat Western Province by 8 wickets. Then they won against Northwest by 24 runs. Then the Lions by 2 runs. Then Western Province by 9 wickets. Then their luck changed. They lost to the Lions by 132 runs. Got completely massacred by the Lions. The Lions in that match got 213 for 2, and they were bowled out. And oh, sorry, that was Western Province. I make a mistake over there. They actually went on to. Why am I missing this match? Where's this match now? After the Lions match, after they beat Lions by 2 runs and Western Province by 9 wickets, they went on to beat KwaZulu Natal Inland, sorry, by 31 runs. And then they lost to the Lions, which turned their fortune around. They lost to the Lions by 43 runs. And then they lost to Northwest by 6 wickets, and their losing streak started. A little bit of a losing streak. Then they lost to the Dolphins by 7 wickets. And they are actually going into the semifinals with a couple of losses on the bounce. So it's difficult to say which team was the most informed in this tournament, because we can see that every single team going into the semifinals has had an up and down trajectory when it comes. They had an up and down. They've had an up and down campaign when it comes to win victories. But the positive thing over here is we can say that the 4 best teams have advanced based on when you look at on paper and you're trying to pick the best T20 players in the country. Majority of them will be coming from these 4 teams if you look on it on paper. Now, I think that other teams like Western Province, Northwest, particularly those 2 teams, they will have a couple of players in there that could possibly be in the mix for Rob Walter when he selects. Especially when you look at the top performers in the tournament this season before the knockout phases. So I'm going to share that with you guys right now to show you who those players have been. There are quite a few players that have really put up their hand in this particular campaign. Now, when you look at it, we're going to start with the most runs scored. When you look at the most runs scored in this tournament, I was very impressed by Ruben Herman this tournament. He has been really good in a couple of matches, but particularly 3 matches he was really good. But obviously that century is going to boost his runs that he scored. He scored 436 runs at an average of 39.63 at a strike rate of 145. But in those matches, he was very impressive. He was really good at dominating for his team and looking really good. So Ruben Herman really put up his hand in this particular tournament. We can't say anything but that. But then we get into the players that are a little bit more have been a little bit more consistent and who are actually going to be in the semifinals. So we've got Matthew Brzezinski here. He scored 350s in this tournament at 429 runs at an average of 35.75 and a strike rate of 133. Then we get into the Titans team. Another player that has been really good is Rivaldo Munsami. He scored 404 runs at a strike rate of 140, and he has 250s to his name, including a 90 not out. And then we get into the Lions team, who's quite star-studded. We've got Ryan Rickleton over here. He's probably the most consistent player out of the lot. He had 4 half centuries in this tournament so far at a strike rate of 144.19 and an average of 42.77 in his 12 matches. Riza Hendricks is just behind him with 3 half centuries, and he has an average of 33 at a strike rate of 144.47. And then the captain of the Titans, Makanya, he's on 100. He has 3 half centuries as well, at an average of 28.50 and a strike rate of 133.59. And those are the players that I would say really stand out. But also, we have to look at Marcus Ackerman. He's played less games than the rest, 3 games less than the rest, 2 games less than majority of the people that are in the semi-final. But his average is 56.75 and he has 3 half centuries at a strike rate of 139.26. So for the Dolphins, he's really definitely a player to watch out for. And those are the players that have scored the most amount of half centuries, and you can say that they are the ones that are probably most informed when it comes to this tournament heading into the knockout stages. You're gonna have to also look at some of the players um, that are going to be doing the duty for their team with regards to ball in hand, and we can take a look at some of them right now that are going to be in the semi-final. Bayer Swanepoel has been excellent throughout this match, throughout this tournament. I mean, to take 20 wickets in 11 matches is a really great performance. His economy is 7.45, so a little bit more expensive than some of the other bowlers, but been effective as a wicket taker throughout this tournament. Then one of the standouts this in this competition so far is Sametu. He had 14 matches played and he's taken 19 wickets at an economy of 5.77. So he's been really good with the ball in hand. Although Carl Simmons is not going to be in the semis, he has to be mentioned for Western Province. He's one of those players that have performed quite consistently throughout this tournament with 17 wickets in 14 matches at an economy of 6.76. And then you've got the more experienced guys like David Visser, who's on this list as well, as you can see, Sobrayan, Bjorn Fortuin, Peter. Those are guys that are going to be in the semi-final. And then Cele as well for the Dolphins. And Supamla, who has been good in this tournament too, 13 wickets. Corbin Bosch as well with 13 wickets. But those are the players that are a little bit more on the expensive side. So those are some of the players that I think that have been dominant throughout this tournament, have been really good in this tournament and are going to come into this tournament into the semifinals with some form. But let's have a listen to what the captains have had to say ahead of tomorrow's game. There's obviously going to be a game tomorrow between the Titans and the Lions. So we are going to be very lucky that we are going to be witnessing a Jiske derby for the first match, and Johannesburg is going to be the host for that one. And then the second match is going to be in Durban between the Warriors and the Dolphins, which is also going to be not wait. Let me just see something quickly. Yes, the Dolphins and the Warriors are going to play. Yeah, the Dolphins and the Warriors are going to be playing, obviously, in Durban for their semi-final clash, which is also going to be a very close game. I'm predicting because we know that the Warriors have been really good in the first half of the tournament, but then went on a little bit of a losing streak, as I said earlier on. But it's two coastal sides playing in coastal conditions. So it's going to be very interesting. Durban, obviously, the Dolphins, they hold the upper hand when they play at home because of the amount of spinners they have in their squad. But the Warriors have the best spinner in the tournament so far. So that's something that we need to also look at and take into consideration. So we need to take that into consideration as well, because CSA Metu has been the best spinner in the tournament with the most amount of wickets. So it's going to be an interesting clash. And they are both teams that are used to playing in the coast and have players that are adaptable. So it's interesting that the semifinals has worked out like that. That is not maybe one IFL team versus one coastal team. It's two coastal teams in one semifinal and two IFL teams in the other semifinal. So that's going to be an interesting one from that perspective. But let's have a listen to what the captains had to say. They spoke in a press conference today, and I'm going to be playing for it for you guys right now. So let's have a listen to what Neil Brandt and Bjorn Fortuin has had to say.
Camera for us.
Okay, sure. Just 2 secs.
Thank you.
Hello.
Our multiplied Titans. Who would like to kick us off? Morgan.
Morning, thank you. Hi, Neil. Neil,
Hi, Morgan.
you guys are playing in that first semi-final tomorrow night against the Lions, another Ikson derby, and it has been quite a crazy competition if you take into account that going into those last few matches, pretty much 6 teams could have still reached it. So as the defending champions, it must be quite a relief, but the job's not quite done yet.
Yeah, as you say, the job's definitely not done. But yeah, I think we just hopefully we're peaking at the right time. We've won 3 in a row now. So yeah, as you said, could have been any one of the 6 teams, but we just pretty much saw every game as a final, and I think that kind of brought the best out of us.
And just a follow up on that, the Lions finished at the top of the log. They've also been right up there, right until the end, along with the Warriors. So you guys are definitely going to be up for a big one tomorrow night.
Yes, for sure. The Lions has a very strong squad this year. A lot of pro-tier players. So yeah, we're gonna have to be at our best. And yeah, I just think our bowling attack has really kicked now, and everyone knows what their role is. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow will be another great game. We've had two last ball finishes against the Lions in the T20 comp this year. So yeah, I'm pretty sure tomorrow might be another nail biter.
All right, thanks, Morgan. Zahia.
How's it, Neil? Just you've obviously led South Africa in international cricket now. Just coming back to the Titans, how much does that help your leadership and going into a knockout game in terms of just knowing that you've played bigger games than that in terms of handling the pressure?
Yeah, I guess in New Zealand I learned a hell of a lot about myself and about, I guess, people in general, and how to get the best out of them type of thing. But yeah, tomorrow's another big game for the Titans. You know, I love playing for the Titans, so yeah, hopefully the experiences that I gained in New Zealand will help me to stay calm tomorrow. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, the Titans, they found a way to get to the semi-final at one stage. It didn't look like it was possible. Is that the blueprint of the Titans, that they always find a way to get over the line, even when their backs are against the wall?
Yeah, there were some tough times in this comp for us. We had a lot of we lost a lot of games by 2 runs or 1 run, I think, and then also a tied game. So we were under pressure with about, I think, 6 games to go. So as I said earlier, every game for us was a final, and yeah, I guess we just had to find a way, and we drew a lot on experienced guys like Lungi and Shamo, and David Wiese has obviously been amazing for us. So yeah, just having them in the change room has helped everyone to hopefully peak at the right time.
That's a key factor. I think because the Titans, like I said early on in the show, they didn't look like they were going to qualify for this tournament, but they did lose very close games that were almost by 1 run, by 2 run, like Neil said. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they switch on for a semi-final. You know, how you can, if they are capable of actually putting that behind them and then switching on for a semi-final, because a semi-final is just it's almost like a blank slate. What made this tournament really exciting for me from a perspective of the fans is that in the end, it wasn't just a runaway from one team. At one point, it looked like the Warriors were just going to run away with this, and semi-final spot was going to be first at Gqeberha. But they were also brought down to earth. So in the end, it was a very close contention for those semi-final spots at the end of the day, especially for that number 4 spot. There was a fight out between Western Province basically and the Titans for that semi-final spot. So let's see. The Titans are coming in with momentum. When it comes to when you're looking at the teams that are coming into the semi-final with momentum, it's the Titans. And then the ones that are not, is like the Warriors, for example, are not coming into the semi-final with momentum after a couple of losses on the trot. So it's very interesting how a tournament can completely turn around and change your season. The Warriors are looking for their first trophy this season. The Titans are also looking for their first trophy this season. Whereas we've already got the Lions that have a trophy to their name. Whereas the other trophy winner, Western Province, are not in this tournament. So there's a chance for 3 teams out of the 4 to win the 3 teams out of the 4 teams to win their first trophy this season. So there's a lot at stake for some teams than others.
And just lastly from us, the Rivaldo Mansumi, he's had a amazing season, 4-day cricket, now white ball cricket. Just what's the difference that you've seen in him this season? And he's just taken his game to a different level, and also just something on the youngster Loandre, how he's managed to work to fight.
Yeah, on Mooney, I think the 2 years he spent at Northern Cape was really good for his game. We all knew how good he was. I mean, I played with him since 5 or 6 years ago at the Titans, and then he obviously left. But yeah, I think the experiences he gained there and just knowing his game really helped him. I mean, all we want from Mooney is to use his flair. He's got so much talent. So I mean, yeah, hopefully he can. He's done well against the Lions, so hopefully tomorrow night he can put on another show for us. Yeah, he scores in unorthodox areas because his wrists are so good. So yeah, I mean, he's been a massive player for us, and yeah, he's probably been one of the players of the season for the Titans. And then on Luandre, yeah, obviously a youngster coming through. Yeah, I guess he's found his feet now, and I think he can take a lot of confidence from the last knock against Province. Yeah, it's nice that I think in the last few games he's kind of faltered after the power play. He got us a good start on the power play and then kind of slowed down a bit. But in the last game, he really dominated, and that was kind of the message sent to him, just to keep on going and take the bowlers on after the power play. Going
to be amazing experience for him to learn that, because he's used to playing in the power play, of course, because that's where he's obviously going to have the most amount of experience, because there's so many caps in the field. At least there's something that is familiar for him there. But when you're playing against experienced bowlers, older bowlers that have the understanding, that's where they're going to test you the most, is out of the power play. So it's good to see that he's starting to learn those things as he develops. I'm so happy that the Titans have given him a shot, that they've given him a chance and backed him in this tournament so far. So that's a very good thing from a development perspective, that youngsters get an opportunity to play. I'm really happy that the Titans have done so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zahir. Do you have any more questions?
Behind your teams come back in the tournament to make semi-finals.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think just we knew every game was pretty much a final. We knew we couldn't lose again. then we'd be under a lot of pressure. So I guess, yeah, the Titans always prided themselves to step up in big games, and yeah, every game was massive for us, and we've kind of just kept that going, and now we have a nice run of games that we've won. Yeah, I guess also we had a lot of guys, someone like Lungi coming back from a long injury, so it took him a couple of games to get back to that match tempo, but yeah, he's been amazing for us in the last 2 games. So really happy for him.
That's a big, also massive thing for South Africa, that Lungingiri is back in form again, that he's come back playing cricket again. So that's a massive boost for the national coach, because that obviously takes a very important spot in the side that we have needed and that has been lacking, is not having Lungi available for selection. So it's good to see him coming back into his rhythm again and finding some match-winning performances.
All right. Thanks, Wangama. Do you have any questions before we close? Going once. All right. Thanks, Neil. Thank you, everyone,
Very
for
much.
joining us.
Okay, so that's Neil Brandt's presser. We're going to move on to now Bjorn Fortuin and what he had to say. To see if I can find it here. When does
Good
it?
morning, Bjorn.
Here we go. Here it's coming.
Please do open the camera for us.
Yes.
That's good. Thank
So we're just going to go through this. This is why I didn't
yeah, but
upload it. Everybody's on their phone over here, as you can see.
You know, have so many players, basically the Galacticos of South African cricket. How do you manage to fit 25 players into an 11 every week? That's the biggest challenge for the Lions.
Lamzai, to be honest, that's the coach's job. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. Yeah, but keeping the morale high in the squad, especially if guys are not playing regularly, is, I reckon, the biggest challenge, and it's something that I've sort of tried to play a role in keeping that up as well. But like you said, we've got quality players all the way from 1 to maybe 17, 18 players. So it is quite tough. But one thing that we maintained, and one of the principles that we've tried to implement, is that whoever comes in, the standard doesn't drop, the expectations doesn't drop, and fortunately for most of the season so far, we've managed to do that.
That's probably one of the most difficult jobs to do when you have a big roster and a lot of stars, to keep people on the bench happy, to keep them motivated, and to keep them informed, so that when they do get selected, they can go on and perform. It's Russell Domingo has done an excellent job as a coach at the Lions by doing so. He's kept players believing, so that when they get a chance, they perform immediately. A very good example of that is Delano Potgieter in the 4-day series. There was a moment and period where we thought he might not get a chance in 4-day cricket, but then he got his opportunity and he went on to actually win them that final and win them their first trophy of the season. So we have to commend the coaches and the Lions for actually keeping everybody happy and maintaining that belief and form.
And Bjorn, just a follow up, the batting unit seems to be a strength of the Lions, particularly. They like I said, you can basically pick anybody there, but it took a while for the guys to get going, and they weren't really going. But now it seems like they've found a bit of momentum, particularly at the top order. Is that obviously a good sign going into a semi-final that all the batters are firing?
Well, the standards that they set for themselves, they'll be the first ones to admit that there's still quite a bit left in the tank. There's still a couple of gears that they can go up into. So that's the exciting part. And I guess the frustrating part is that even though we've done fairly well this season, we haven't really played to our full potential yet. And hopefully on Wednesday, tomorrow evening, that we can do that. Yeah.
Bjorn, just the last one from me. You got a youngster bowling with you at the moment, the leg spinner, Ngwaga Peter. Just tell us more about him, and in terms of you also play with him at the Royals, just his development from SA20 now through to this competition where he seems to be finding his feet.
Yeah, no, he's been mightily important for us coming into the last bit of the comp. If you looked at the makeup of the team, we've also sort of chopped and changed, and he's been on the receiving end of a couple of chops here and there, but he's become mightily important for us and one of the most important cogs of our bowling attack at the moment. He's got all the skills, all the tricks. Obviously, he's still young, and there's still certain things that he'll need to learn, and that sort of comes with experience and playing time. And I'm sure that at the Lions will get all of that experience and playing time he needs to become the complete bowler. But like I said, he's got a bright future, all the tricks, and there's nothing really stopping him from emulating some of the game's greats.
Yeah, so that's a positive from a South African cricket standpoint, that there are some spinners that have put up their hand this season. Someone new like Peter. So that's another one. And obviously we maintain Someto at the Warriors as well. But we also got the likes of Kyle Simmons. And then we still have the experts like Brian and Bjorn Fortuin that have really performed well. So some spinners coming through. We were worried about that department for quite some time. But we are now starting to see some spinners put up their hands and starting to develop.
Bjorn, that's from me.
Thanks, Mahir. Morgan?
Thanks. Hi, Bjorn. Beyond knockout cricket's, of course, massive focus now with 2 games left in the comp, or 3 games left in the comp. But we're also less than, or just over a month away from the T20 World Cup. So how important is this opportunity to stake a claim at the squad going forward to New York and the West, or to the USA and the West Indies?
To be honest, I don't think it has that much I don't think it's that much of a deal breaker. Obviously, you want to do well, and you want to win trophies for your domestic side, but I mean that team sort of picks itself, and there's a couple of question marks here and there, in my opinion. But I don't think our domestic comp is a complete deal breaker for who goes and who doesn't.
I don't know. From what we heard from Rob Walter, this tournament is going to be important. I mean, maybe that's just a way for Bjorn to diplomatically answer the question. But I know that a lot of players, I as a fan, will look at this tournament and see who put up their hands consistently. And there are quite a few that have done so that can be looked at for that T20 World Cups positions that are available. So I think there's still opportunities over there. For people in the semi-final. I think the semi-finals are going to be important for that.
Thanks, Morgan. Do you have any questions from the floor? Kanyiso Ongama?
Bjorn, I'll be quick. Just how important is it for you guys, especially the Lions, with this semi-final in particular? I don't know whether the question's been asked. Just to get to the final and win a second trophy this season, to back up the good work that was done in the 4-day series.
Yeah, to win a second trophy, we first got to get to the final, and to get to the final, we've got to get through tomorrow night. So there's still quite a bit of cricket to be played if everything goes to plan. So the most important thing for us is there's a lot happening in terms of planning, preparation, and trying to get everything sorted for tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes, it's just about ball by ball and play by play. I think I mentioned it in an interview earlier in the week that this is it's an unpredictable format. It's an unpredictable game, and we've been on the other end of some unexpected results, if I can put it like that. So we won't be taking anything for granted from starting today's preparation all the way through to tomorrow's game. Yeah, the Titans are obviously a gun side all the way through, similar to us. So it should be an entertaining game. It should be a cracker of a game. Both games have gone to the last ball so far this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have another tense affair again.
I'm expecting it a close game. Both are familiar with the conditions as well.
Thanks, Kanyeso. Do we have any more questions before we close?
Yeah, I've got one or two, Alu. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. I've got a question. We're talking about the strength of the team and the quality of the side. I just want to know from you, Bjorn, how have you experienced just being a leader of such a quality side, you know? And just on Ngaba Peter as well, you know, as a youngster coming in, you know, what sort of role have you seen yourself that this is the sort of role that I have to play with this youngster coming into the side?
Yeah, so I've been quite fortunate coming into a side that's won trophies, and I'm fortunate to be captaining a side that knows how to win trophies. So I wouldn't say the team sort of runs itself, but it's nice to be part of a setup where everyone knows what's expected of them. And barring a couple of younger players, there's not a lot of guidance and that sort of thing that's needed off the field. Everyone's professional enough to know what's needed on the day and leading up to games and stuff. But yeah, it's something that's sort of been ingrained not only with this current team, but it's all the Lions teams that I've been a part of. It's been built around winning. I've been fortunate enough to come into a side that was winning at the time, and hopefully we can create that same culture for the youngsters coming in. And on Ngaba, he's part of that culture now. You can see when he plays, he's one of those players that when he's doing well, he can take the game away from the opposition within the space of 2 or 3 overs, and that's what we encourage guys to do. Is when you're having those good days, you want to be the guy for the team. You want to be the guy that's putting in man of the match performances and sort of taking the game away from the opposition, and that's what he's done for us this season. So yeah, he's got a bright future, and hopefully a couple of us can give him the right guidance along the way.
Yeah, and just lastly from me, you're talking about the quality of the side and the fact that Titans also are a quality side. It's a side that has won a lot of trophies before, and they haven't won a trophy this season, you know. And you guys are playing them at the finals, and we all know that whenever these two sides meet, it's always a very good game. But do you expect them to come a bit harder tomorrow? The fact that this is their only chance to win a trophy this season.
Good question.
Yeah, the way that they want to play the game doesn't really faze us. They've got quite a few weapons, but we know that we've got the quality that if we play to our potential, might sound a bit conceited, but it doesn't really matter what sort of game plan they come with. We've got enough skill and enough quality to sort of nullify any sort of threat that they have. But again, like I said, it's an unpredictable game, and on the day anything can happen. So the most important thing for us to do is to make sure that we nail our plans and execute what we want to do, and it's not really in our control how they want to play the game.
Cool. I think that's all, guys.
Thanks, Ongama. Zahir?
One more.
This is a bit of a left field question, but both games going to the last ball. I mean, have you guys been practicing super overs? Is that part of the preparation?
I'd be lying if I said it was. We don't really want the game to go to a super over. We don't really want the game to go to a super over, but that could be in the back of our minds. But like I said, if we just focused on controlling what we can control and staying true to our plans and that sort of thing. So hopefully a super over is not part of the equation.
Cool. Okay, so guys, that was the presser for the game tomorrow. I think we're going to see a game tomorrow, and then there's another one on Thursday. So looking forward to this. It's a knockout tournament, and then after this, we can really start discussing which players we feel have done well enough this tournament to put up their hands for a World Cup spot. I spoke about some of at the beginning of the show. I spoke about some of the players that are in form heading into the semi-final, who is impressed so far. I haven't really watched much of the IPL, and that's something that I don't know. It's too much T20 cricket for me. Uh, that's happening at the same time. I've been mainly focusing on the CSA T20 challenge and the players that are there. And because I don't think at the moment this season with the IPL, the way the results have been going, that it's a true reflection of our players. It's been very batting heavy, very favouring the batters to the pitches a lot. There's been some heavy scoring games, and the bowlers generally have struggled. So I don't think it's really a true reflection because there haven't really been equal games. I think the CSA T20 challenge from a bowler and batter's perspective has been a better indication of with regards to what qualities we have available in the for us. But and not all of our talent in the IPL have got an opportunity. So Rob's going to have to make a very interesting decision when it comes to certain players. Because first and foremost in the IPL, not all of our talent has got an opportunity, and mainly it is the batters that have been performing. So you can't go on form there completely. You're gonna go. He has to go on quality and what he trusts going into this. So let's see what happens. We'll have a look at the results of as the IPL obviously concludes. We will look at the results. I'll probably start watching a little bit more as it goes to the knockout stages where the pressure's on, and that's something that we will do for that. So Navneet is asking Khali, bro, when will the SA announce their squad for the T20 World Cup 2024? I think they'll wait um, for this for the IPL to draw to a close, I feel, before they start really announcing those squads, because I think that Robbie's keeping a close eye on that too. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you guys again very soon for another show. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of the evening, and peace out, everyone. We'll probably have a review after the CSA T20 challenge to discuss the semi-finals, and then heading into the final. So I hope you guys will be able to join me for that one, and we can have a better discussion where I'll answer all your questions and your questions about the team and who we think should be in there, and all of those types of discussions will happen on the channel. So stay safe, enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out, everyone.